the last couple weeks have been crazy as Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency, has been discovering all sorts of crazy things that have been that U.S. tax dollars has been spent on.
That's my orange man.
It has been very interesting to see. Now, look, I'm going to be really clear. I think that we all know there's been corruption going on, but for me, it's just a matter of like, it's really shocking where this money has been spent and the literal propaganda that has been funded by our government to think a certain way. And that does make its way into video games through various other outlets. One of those outlets being Politico. Look, I was very naive when I started this show, when side scrollers came back. I was like, I want to stay out of all that stuff. The more and more it came up, I just realized it's all fucking connected. It's all connected and it's all there. And it's just an absolute mess.
I had the same thing. It's like I just wanted to be left alone and play video games, but they kept encroaching in where I wanted to just relax. And so it's like I feel like I'm doing myself a disservice if I stay quiet about it, even if I'm afraid a bit of like people coming in and doing like the cancel culture nonsense. Because I was at like the beginning of streaming. So not like in general, but like the beginning of my streaming.
I was very naive to think that was the case. And I think it's nice to have that naivete, but when it's just shoved in your face constantly and they're so brazen about it, you have to talk about these things. And, this show has been about, pointing and laughing at stupidity. And there's been a lot of stupidity that has happened over the last few years, And one of those things that's been stupid, that has been ongoing for a long time, is the moving of tax funds to various literal propaganda outlets. Including Politico, like we mentioned, with $8 million being spent of taxpayer dollars to fund 36 different subscriptions to Politico, more or less.
That's
funding.
Crazy.
I mean, it's jaw-dropping. So how does this tie into video games? If you go back a decade to 2014 with the Gamergate, when the first Gamergate happened, there was a lot of hit pieces that were put out about Gamergate and what a far-right extremist, whatever, and the messaging behind Gamergate was skewed because it initially started based off of a pushback about journalistic integrity in the video game space. And then it got shifted and molded by these outlets that it became about sexualization of women and how men are toxic, and it became all these things that it truly wasn't, through propaganda. We have this tweet out here. It says, people have wondered if our tax dollars were used to promote wokeness in video games, and the answer is yes. USAID paid Politico millions per year to write pieces like this one, which promotes diversity and describes Gamergate as a disinformation and harassment campaign.
It's like, it feels so vindicating, right? Because obviously all of us knew this, and especially once people started looking into Sweet Baby. Like I had been looking into them since like October 2023, because I think it was 2024 that had the entire like news cycle just focused on them. But like they were getting government money from like Canada, and it's like, if Canada's spending government money on like not necessarily Sweet Baby, but like the Baby Ghost or whatever they're called, if they're getting government grants, then I'm sure our government is doing it somewhere. So it's also nice to see like the proof of that happening.
I mean, yes, this is very validating for a lot of people. And you can see that, these articles here is the status handoffs of Washington's most famous gamer, from a libertarian leaning white man to two millennial socialist women of color, is in some ways the perfect summation of how video games have changed in recent years. And they're talking about Anita Sarkeesian.
I'm saying, who is the most famous gamer? And they're mentioning two socialist women. Like, what?
Yeah, I mean, they're talking about Anita Sarkeesian and the other lady in this situation. The two people that you mentioned,
most famous, the other lady.
Yes, whatever. Yeah, but it's been amazing to kind of see this. Video games were never really the exclusive province of white male loners, but that's been the stereotype. And some players took that reputation seriously, so much so that they organized a backlash to try to protect it.
I am angry. I am angry at that. How do you so brazenly rewrite history in that manner? Like, when I played video games, right? Like I was a very, very small minority of like women who were playing games. Even when I got into like my teenage years and started playing online games, like every arcade I went to, it was overwhelmingly men. Sometimes they would bring their girlfriend. Any game I played online, anyone I talked to about games, I got bullied for like being a boy because I played video games. I was like, video games have always overwhelmingly been a white male nerd outcast fucking hobby. I was like, how dare you? That's just so fucking like, yes, there were people who weren't white, there were people who weren't male, but overwhelmingly it was them. It was them playing them, it was them making them. That was their domain, dude. And like everywhere in culture would show them as like, you know, the nerdy outcast who just got bullied. I was like crazy.
Well, and here's the spoiler. It's still the same way. Like we see all these stats about you know, oh, it's 50% women, 50% male. Like I've talked about this on the show a dozen times. We know that's bullshit. It's never been that way. It'll never be that way. Yes, there are women who play Candy Crush. We get it. There are dudes who play Candy Crush. There are dudes who play WWE Superstars or All Stars, whatever it is, on their phones. That's great, right? But we're talking about core console games. The ESRB has been telling us that it's 50% male and female playing console games.
And it's not.
That's so fun. It's pure propaganda.
Absolutely is. And I see chat, you know, correcting me and being like, there are tons of games made in like Japan and Asia. And it's like, yes, but in Western countries, it was overwhelmingly male and white. If you include globally, then yes, it wouldn't be white in that case. It would just be overwhelmingly male in general. Like you are correct, chat.
This very true. But then you see things, you know, continuing on with this article here, it says if you look at the history of Taylor Swift, if you go back 10 to 12 years, her main critics were actually coming from the left. There was a feminist discourse that argued that she was too heteronormative and that she was supporting the patriarchy by writing these love songs with straightforward boy meets girl, happily ever after kind of narrative. Do people realize how fucking insane this sounds?
That is actually insane. I don't even know what to say about someone who is so far removed from the real world. Like, how are you allowed to be a journalist, man?
That's why they lose. That's why they'll continue to lose, and that's why the reaction to this is so hard and so swift for them to understand. Nobody thinks like that. Zero people, except for this one person. That's it.
It's like you need these kind of like brain damaged ideologues who will just respond to buzzwords like stimuli to continue pushing propaganda, because if you have people that are actually capable of thinking, they might start asking questions, and you don't want that.
Yes, don't stop asking questions. Stop asking questions.
Just consume product.
Right. Well, then we have this, which people have been starting to do a little digging about where some of these charities have been getting their funding. You know, we talked about Zoe Quinn a second ago. Zoe Quinn was brought up. That was the other woman, as well as Anita Sarkeesian that we were mentioning. And wouldn't you know it, Feminist Frequency also saw some of this government funds being sent their way to the tune of $235,000. Feminist Frequency saw this money, which is, hey, there we go. This is from Sargon, who was a face of the original Gamergate. He says, I just wanted to play video games. But no, not good enough. $235,000 going to Feminist Frequency.
I put the link where this information is coming from in the group chat here, and I don't know how to read this. I'm willing to admit when I'm like, you know, I don't know what's going on. But when you search for Feminist Frequency, and I mean the charity does say the table shows the total contributions and government grants for each 501c3 charity, and so it says government grants 0, indirect government money $6, total taxpayer dollars $6, and then other cash contributions are the 235, 222. So I'm wondering, are the other cash contributions also coming from the government, or how did they only get like $6 from the taxpayers if this was a government grant? I don't know how to read this.
All I know is that there's money coming from there, and that is a mess. Oh wow.
Yeah, because that's where I'm curious, right? Because if the other cash contributions are just like non-government grants, but then why would it be on the charity funding about like contributions and government grants? But it's completely separated from taxpayer dollars and indirect government money and government grants. So it could just be that the other cash contributions had nothing to do with government funding, and it was just like the total contributions that company got as a charity. I'm not sure. And like, I always like to err on the side of caution because I don't want to accidentally put out something that's not accurate. So like, that's maybe you guys know how to read this chart better than I do.
All I see is $250,000 going to this charity, which, by the way, like, man, on this website, if you click their EIN, I mean, there's a lot of information.
Oh there. Yeah. Oh, it's a ton of info.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, and you can see the contributions and grants they received in, and I don't want to show this on screen, just because I don't want to get in trouble for potentially doxing or showing off an address or any sort of information.
I mean, you can show off the initial screen where it shows like the EIN and the name, and then like the contributions that I was just talking about, like the landing page. But yeah, I wouldn't show off the info that you're looking at right now.
So in 2023, they had $235,000 that were contributions and grants. In 2022, there was $539,000.
Holy.
Of contributions and grants.
Okay, so then the other cash contributions, that 235 isn't the total then. So like now I'm even a bit more confused.
And and you can see actually they have their total expenses here. Once again, I don't want to share this because I don't want to accidentally dox anybody.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what we're here to do. But it says for they have their total revenue. So in 2022 they generated $210,000. In 2023, they lost $154,000. You can see the money kind of where it's flowing through here.
Since it's classified as a charity, like what was the charity for? Like, isn't she just paying like herself and like one or two other employees that she did all this nonsense with?
Yeah, that's a great question. There are 3 people listed on this form as directors for this, which, by the way, if you have a charity, 3 people need to be on a board for that. That's just how it happens when you start a charity. So Anita Sarkeesian is one, Maile Martinez and Yavana Maya. They're listed as directors on this as well. Yeah, there's a lot of information here. This is crazy, actually, and it continues to go. I said I don't want to share it because I don't want to dox anybody, but it's just nuts. But the fact that there's like this, your money that you're paying into for these grants is going there.
Oh no, I agree. The tax dollars should absolutely be a huge fucking zero for sure. But I just wanted to ask about, because it says that only $6 in taxpayer money went to Feminist Frequency, and that is a far cry from like 235,000. So like that's why I mean maybe you know how to read the chart better than I do, but that's why I wanted to bring it up when we talked about this.
Sure. Well, I think it's totally fair. With that said, there are numbers here from 2019, 2020, 2021, all the way to 2023. Total gifts, grants, and contributions for Feminist Frequency, $1,446,638.
What the fuck?
Over the course of 5 years.
What the actual fuck?
$1.4 million. That's a pretty good living if you're making that every 5 years.
That is insane.
Yes, $1.4 million. Wow, that is shocking.
Charity money too, so
Yeah, like where? Man, I don't even get it. I don't even get it.
I saw some people saying like the amount doesn't matter, and like I do believe it does. I do believe it because I like being accurate, right? I'm not going to get angry over like $235,000 of taxpayer money if it's only 6. It should be 0. I'm not defending it. But like I care about accuracy personally, and I think it matters to be accurate.
Yes, I hear you. I definitely agree with that.
I mean, it's all completely bullshit, especially the amount that you just rattled off. Like 1.4 million over 5 years is fucking insane.
What's interesting, man, this is actually very interesting, that the address listed. Once again, I don't want to share this publicly, but the address listed on this tax return just sends you to a mailbox place for a P.O. box.
That I can explain. I don't know if you've set up LLCs before.
Yes.
But when I incorporated for my like Twitch and YouTube stuff, like my LLC, I was able to pay for a like handler. They have an official name, but I can't remember what it's called. And so like the handler will just pick a random address that like exists, but it's not
Sure.
where your business is. Sometimes it can be a PO box that you get packages sent to. Sometimes it can be like an empty lot with like a tree in it that's in the middle of nowhere. So it's you can obscure your personal information from your LLC by having a
Right.
handler do all of that stuff for you.
Yes, I definitely understand that for sure. Having an agent to do that. Yeah, I totally get that. Blabs just found this as well, as far as interesting things where our tax dollars have gone to.
Actually, that was sent to us by Dragovus over on Twitter.
All right, thank you very much for that. Let's see where $150 million went in 1997.
Oh no.
Kirsha went to change society for the worse, as Pizza Hut got $150 million to renovate and modernize in 1997.
That's so upsetting because the old Pizza Hut aesthetic and the food was so much better after they
Oh.
modernized. Everything fucking sucked.
See what they did, and you paid for it. Congratulations! In
We played
What they
ourselves.
took from you. Reclaim what they have stolen.
Oh, absolutely, just very upsetting. Very upsetting that that would be the thing. Oh my gosh, you should be upset, normal man. You should be. I would be upset too. I am upset. I'm pissed.
They've destroyed our normal culture of Pizza Hut.
It's ridiculous.